Guess what I was thinking? I think I'm Lester Holt's pretty good.
But do we run into copyright issues?
Well, we're trying to put Dateline in there. Would it be I'm Lester Holt with us, or just I'm Lester Holt, a Dateline podcast? I love the idea of going, I'm Lester Holt, and I'm Kurt Money.
We could get sued for using his name.
You think so?
Especially if we have merch.
So what are we going to call it? It's so funny.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, that's definitely one of the options.
Okay.
I'm very focused on merch.
I'm Lester Holt would be killer merch, though. Right?
On a mug?
I love it. Or just written on a hat or something.
It's like the executive producer Dick Wolf shirts.
Yes, it's exactly like that. 1,000%. You think that guy records like a bunch of those?
I'm Lester Holt.
Like, what's his day job? Does Lester Holt have a day job?
He's on the regular news for NBC, because sometimes he'll be like, tune in tomorrow morning with me and Hoda, and we talk about sandals or whatever.
You're right. There's a whole world of news that I do not know anything about.
Well, because it doesn't matter. Only Dateline matters.
That's exactly right.
I'm Lester Holt.
And I guess we could jump right into this episode, which I thought was pretty good. What'd you think? Did you like it?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was obvious from the beginning. I thought it was full of adequate twists and turns.
Tonight on Dateline.
The basic premise is the way that IMDb describes it. I love it. After a district attorney and his wife are murdered in the same Texas town where a prosecutor was gunned down 2 months earlier, local law enforcement fears that they may be in the sights of a serial killer. I didn't think about that, but I guess it is technically, he's a serial killer, right? You gotta have 3. He hit it.
It has to be 3 in order to be a serial?
Yeah, but one could argue that this might put him towards spree killer, like the Las Vegas shooter guy, or like the sniper guy. That's a spree killer.
This guy had a list. Do serial killers not usually have a list?
No. They'll keep a list of their victims. I know that Randy Kraft did that, the freeway killer. Like, he'd have stupid nicknames for people. But when they caught him, there was a dead guy in his front seat with his dick out and cut off and stuff shoved up his. Isn't that crazy?
That guy was in his car?
Cops pulled him over because he was speeding or whatever. And they were like, hey, wake up your drunk friend, please. And he's like, oh, he's had a lot to drink.
So much that his dick and fell off.
Yeah. Point is, all 3 of these people worked in the government. They're lawyers, right?
Not the wife.
Well, that's true.
She didn't have a dog in this fight.
That's true. That poor wife, huh?
Her cookies. Everyone in town loved her cookies.
He was constantly begging for more of my wife's cookies.
The prosecutor dies, the Mark Hasse guy. Do the press conference where the lead detective or whatever comes out and says, we're going to catch you. And he addresses the camera and says,
I hope the people that did this are watching. We're going to find you. We're going to pull you out of whatever hole you're in.
And then he was the next victim. It's really sad.
Right.
Don't you think that's wild? That he went on TV, like, I hope you're watching, like, we'll catch you. We're going to get you. But then that guy got.
He got.
What do you think? Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's a small town.
I love that they said that when they were talking about how they know it's somebody who lives there, because his demand was about specific local government. And so they were like, well, it's not the Aryan cartel or it's not the mafia, because they know who, like, local government officials are.
Right.
We don't have a lot of violent crimes in Kaufman. We just kind of naturally assumed it was someone from Dallas.
The way Mark had been murdered also suggested to investigators a possible link to organized crime.
I also love the idea of the mob, because that makes me think of that Stallone show, Tulsa King. What mob is kicking it in Texas? What do you think?
Right. The Gambino family has a whole branch of their tree that operates in the suburbs of Dallas.
Yeah.
Investigators looked into every local case Mark had prosecuted, and even a theft that involved an elected official who stole office equipment.
The guy who does all these murders, he does it for a very specific reason. The episode is called Bad Intentions. This guy has intentions of getting revenge because of what happened to Kate.
This guy was accused of stealing 3 computer monitors from his place of employment.
Yeah.
And they prosecuted him for it, got him disbarred and fired, essentially ruined his life over 3 monitors.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he did not steal. He didn't try to sell them for money. He took them to use. He just used them to do more work for them.
Yeah.
The people prosecuting him.
Yeah. So he gets caught on security cameras. They've got him walking with the monitors. And boy, did Dateline like that clip. We saw it a lot, huh?
Well, he took 3 of them. So 3 times he did that walk.
Here's surveillance video showing him carrying boxes of computer equipment.
Okay, so in the episode, they talk about how he was interviewed on Killer Motives, like another show.
Let's talk about the hit list, all right? You know who had a hit list?
Who?
Kim. She testified about it. I never had one.
So I watched that episode of Killer Motives, and they said why he needed 3 monitors. And I'm about to tell you the reason why right now. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Because he needed one for his office, he needed one for the court, and he needed one for the jail because he didn't like having to read Miranda rights. So he wanted to be able to do it from home and not have to go down to the jail because he did not like having to go to the jail in person.
Eric didn't like going down to the jail to read people their rights. So he wanted to be able to do it via a video link.
And what do we see later? When he gets brought down to the jail, and they go, sorry, Judge, we got to read you your Miranda rights.
Okay, Judge, before we get started, I'm going to read the Miranda warning. You're an attorney, you're a judge, so you know this. What does I do? Okay.
I know you gotta read.
Okay.
So then he gets them read to him anyway, and he goes down to jail, and now he's going to be there for the rest of his life.
It just seems odd someone like that would bother to steal a few computer monitors.
Why do you need 3 separate monitors for that?
I mean, you also need a computer. It's not just a monitor. So, look, I don't know what the guy was thinking.
I tell the IT people, look, I need to keep improving things.
But the fact that it was because he's lazy.
Exactly.
Mark Cassidy, the first guy, gets killed. Nobody knows who did it. They get a tip from an anonymous caller that says this person overheard 2 white males talking at a bar about how they had killed the Massey guy, right?
Yes.
And using the Crime Stoppers system, the tipster remained anonymous.
There was nothing specific in it for them to go forward on. But one of the tips had the number of the gun barrel.
Shell casings are .223 caliber.
So we knew right then that tip that had come into the command post was sent by Eric Williams.
This is why serial killers are doomed from the jump, because they gotta get credit. Like, this guy was kind of in the clear, and what does he do? He does what so many other serial killers do, like BTK and his floppy disk. Like, he's like trying to prod the media to get people to talk about it, because he's like, well, they're not talking about me. Then he sends in and tells them, like, basically a diagram of the guns and bullets that he used to shoot the guys, right?
That told them the killer used an AR-15.
So someone calls in with these tips, and they said, in one of the tips it said, do we have your attention? It was like a threat.
It began, do we have your full attention now?
We suggests more than one person.
Oh, right. It was written from the point of view of, like, it's a group of us and we're all coming after you.
Yeah.
Which is what made them think maybe it's the Aryan Brotherhood. Which, by the way,
yeah,
the Aryan Brotherhood are suspects.
The Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, a prison gang of white supremacists.
Rumors are sweeping the town.
With so many of these Dateline episodes, when there's a death in town, the town's like, oh no, we're next. And I'm always like, no, you're not. It was a spouse, or it was somebody who wanted the insurance. Because it always is. But this case, it was because of the person's job.
Yeah. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. All the criminals that get prosecuted and put away, I'd feel like they'd always be targets.
I guess they are. It's just they're not usually successful. Like, when they're in jail during the trial, they're trying to hire somebody to go kill someone on the outside so it looks like a copycat, so they can go, well, see, it wasn't me. Sorry, you got to let me out of jail. Or like, can you kill this judge that's judging my trial right now? That never works. But it did with this one.
Yeah.
Everyone was terrified the killings might not be over.
A few months pass with these deaths, and they finally get a search warrant for the killer's house, Eric Williams. They go in there, they find a manual for Crown Vic, so that's already good news.
There was a manual for a Ford Crown Vic.
A white Ford Crown Victoria cruising near the McClelland home about the time of the murder.
And then they find on a piece of paper next to the computer just 2 random sets of numbers.
Those are from the tip hotline.
Why write it down? What purpose could knowing that number help him in the future? Why would he ever use that number?
Don't write down your crimes. Don't write down your crimes. I don't know, was this all a ploy just to get people to film him on his Segway?
Oh my god, the Segway. AC was roasting him, though.
She goes,
he strangely swept in on his Segway.
Yeah. What was he thinking? What was he thinking?
He was thinking, look how cool I am.
When he rolled up with that first little flyby, I mean, he was pleased as punch, cruising by on his Segway. He thought he looked very cool.
Oh yeah, do you think he was like, hey, for my B-roll here, will you get a shot of me speeding off? Let me really open her up on the cul-de-sac?
And you know, those producers are like, sure, dude, absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Has anyone suggested to you that you are a person of interest?
No.
After the denial, his sympathies.
My heartfelt condolences go out.
It is wild, though, that Shannon girl knew, like, they all knew each other, because this guy also worked in the government or whatever.
Yeah, he was a justice of the peace.
Wait, so is that when he was a judge then?
Yeah, and he did work for victims of child abuse. Which is interesting. So, okay, controversial opinion.
Yeah,
I think they over-prosecuted the guy.
I'm with you. Keep talking.
He took these monitors. He didn't try to sell them. When he was asked about them, he didn't hide it. He explained why. Yeah, he didn't follow procedure by putting the requests for them in writing. And yeah, he also had enough money to purchase the monitors himself, considering he had the money for a Segway. Those aren't cheap.
You know what? That's a great point. It was $600 worth of monitors, and he's cruising around on a Segway.
Yeah. To me, this seemed like a targeted way for the sheriff's office and the DA's office to get back at this guy or to get him out of their hair. Maybe
Yes.
they didn't like him, even though everyone they talked to, everyone that was on the witness stand as a character witness, said he was a really nice guy, everyone liked him, and he did work for victims of child abuse. So there's a piece of the puzzle missing here. Why would they prosecute him like this?
I agree, but I'm taking issue with the character witnesses because they brought in people like his Boy Scout leader, like from, what, like 30 years ago from when he was a Boy Scout? They had to go back that far in that guy's life to find someone willing to go to court to speak on his behalf, right? So maybe he is a weirdo.
Well, once an Eagle Scout, always an Eagle Scout.
Oh, he's a very smart young man.
AC said that he was known as an odd duck around the office.
Right.
Williams was known to be a bit of an odd duck.
I needed one example of an odd duck, and it can't be stealing monitors, okay? I need a second thing that he did that was odd, because I feel like that might be part of the missing puzzle, is that he must be so hated or so gross. They wanted a reason to get rid of him, because not only was it like overkill, like he got double prosecuted.
As boss of the DA's office, Mike rarely tried cases.
The second guy that died, he tried this case with the other dead guy because he felt so wronged that this guy was using taxpayers' dollars to steal office supplies that he thought that he needed to be punished. That's insane.
Right.
I think it did offend Mike on a basic level. These people elected you. You're supposed to be doing good things for the community, not stealing from it.
There's got to be something else going on.
There's something we don't know. He did something else that was really creepy.
Yeah.
Maybe it had something to do with his child abuse victims. I don't know.
Whoa. Maybe.
This is wrong. Y'all were told wrong. Y'all believe wrong on this.
No matter what happened, though, I'm not condoning his murdering spree at all.
That's the problem, is that he got wronged, and then he went so far off the deep end, we can't defend it. I mean, the guy, seriously, screw went loose, fell out, he went nuts. He didn't just kill these people. He had homemade napalm that he had made himself because he wanted to, quote, bore a hole in the judge and pour the napalm into his stomach.
Pour it inside. Yeah.
There were also pickle jars filled with homemade napalm.
Unbelievable. It was like a tactical operator's closet.
I didn't know you can make that at home. I don't want to know how, and I'm not going to Google it. That's for sure. When they're trying to find evidence on this guy so that they can arrest him, they don't have anything on him. Now, once they figured out that he was the one that called in the threat, that gave them permission to arrest him for committing a terrorist act. Because he did the thing where he said, more will die if you don't fire this other judge.
Right, that's a threat.
Because of that threat, they were allowed to hold him longer than usual, because that's like some sort of terrorist rule.
And then they could search his garage?
It was just during this window of time where they're like, we got to find something before this goes away, is when they got a random call from the person at the storage place that was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I rented a shed to this guy, because it was under a different name.
The hotspot in the investigation was now a run-of-the-mill storage unit.
This is one of those moments that I'll never forget because it was just wow.
They just happened to luck out that this guy called and said, hey, I put two and two together. You might want to go to his storage unit. That's pretty wild.
And what did they find at the storage unit?
Everything.
They found the Crown Vic.
They found the Crown Vic.
Don't keep the getaway car.
What's he doing with it?
Get rid of that. And then they found his arsenal.
Enough guns to supply a small army.
He had a bunch of fake uniforms.
That is illegal.
That's real illegal.
Fake uniforms, fake badges.
I found this out in the other show. The first way that they connected Kim, the killer's poor wife.
Y'all believe wrong on this.
When they were searching the garage, there was a bunch of empty Coke 20 ounces, and then there was a Coke bottle inside this garage, like she had taken it with her there and drank it and left it. Isn't that kind of funny? She's crazy.
An officer recalled overhearing Kim tell someone that she was the one who drank Coke.
So he's in jail, and they're talking about how he has to go away forever.
I think he's going to be a threat to the prison guards, and I think he's going to be a threat to anybody else in prison.
And AC goes,
You're making him sound like Hannibal Lecter.
Now, what's funny about that is what happens in Silence of the Lambs, but he gives up his storage unit, they go to it, and then they find a bunch of crazy in there.
If this door should fall down or anything else.
Now, they didn't find eyeballs and jars and stuff, but he did have a secret storage shed, just like Hannibal Lecter. What do you think?
Except he's not eating people.
You don't know that? You don't know what he's up to in jail. He could be in there chowing down right now.
That's true. Maybe that was the weird thing that they wanted to get him out of there because they were like, I think there's some people in that sandwich.
Yeah, might be.
Silent breed is people!
So the wife, Kim, Eric's wife, they arrest her.
Yeah.
Kim Williams pleaded guilty to the murder of Mark Hasse.
And then put her on the stand so she can, get a deal by fully pointing the finger at her husband.
If I did anything or tried to move away, he would kill me and he would kill my family.
Did you know that they didn't have her testify until sentencing? That wasn't the main trial.
Wow.
That just seems like a really confident move to be like, we don't even have to use this witness. The witness, who, by the way, was the second participant.
Right. I like how they tried to make a big deal out of the fact that after the second murder, they went home to grill steaks. They really tried to be like, how offensive to have celebratory steaks.
How could you even celebrate Easter
I didn't eat that weekend. I was so sick, but he did.
But here's the thing. It was Easter.
Yeah.
They had to pretend like they didn't just murder people.
Yeah.
So they're not going to cancel the Easter steaks. That'd be suspicious.
Yep.
And I do believe that Kim was fully brainwashed into helping him and did it out of fear. But I don't think that alone justifies her doing it.
Yeah.
It just seemed like when she was under his control, she was a different person. And I think that was probably a very abusive marriage. And the fact that he's trying to turn it around and say, actually, it was all her, is insane.
You know who had a hit list? Kim. I never had one.
What reason would she have to kill those people?
And she was later, when she had finally been free of him for a while, she did apologize and said that she wished she had been able to stop it. But I think if she tried to stop it, he would have murdered her too, because when you have an arsenal like that and mason jars full of napalm, you're going to go through with it with or without her driving the car.
Yeah.
So it was going to happen.
And he would kill my family.
You know what? I feel like she may have been too honest on the stand. When they first talked about the night it happened, her choice of words.
It was a cold day and there was excitement in the air.
She said that on the stand.
She should have clarified Eric was excited.
Yeah, not me.
What is his mood like?
Happy.
What is your mood like?
Happy. I so believed in Eric and everything that he told me. His anger was my anger.
I took it as when he was excited and when he was happy, she was able to breathe a sigh of relief because keeping him happy and not scary was probably her main goal.
Yeah.
So if he was happy, she was happy. It's just unfortunate that murder was the thing that made him happy.
Yeah.
That being said, she should be in jail too, which is where she is.
Yeah, for 40 years. Honestly, though, she could get paroled in 10. Did you know that?
I think if she got out, I don't think that she would be a danger to people. I think he was the mastermind and she was under his spell.
Yeah. And yet again, AC's grilling her. Andrea was not buying a second of that bull.
You said you were a willing participant in these murders. You rode in the getaway car.
Yeah.
Andrea with a very different hair color in that scene, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, what was up with her? It must have been a pickup or whatever. They must have...
The highlights were a little different.
I like seeing the wide shot when they're in the studio and you see the other camera and you could see what they... Like everybody's got a water bottle or like their purse or whatever.
What did she have?
Water bottle, big old flowery purse, something else. The guy had a manila folder thing, probably for, like murder info. Oh! Okay, look, I'm under the distinct impression that 90% of cop work is done by technology. I think that without cell phone towers and without search history, I don't think anybody would ever get caught for anything. What do you think?
And the fact that now, within the last 20 years, all police departments are able to talk to each other, whereas back in the day, serial killers could go on and kill hundreds of people because if you left a jurisdiction, the next place you went had no idea about these cases. But now they're all together in the database. They're all talking to each other.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Evan, the misdirect.
Evidence pointed to a former inmate named Evan Ebel.
Every Dateline episode, they've got a misdirect or a red herring of the person they want you to think they've caught him, but then they go and catch it and it's like, oh, it's a dead end. And this one, I thought was pretty good reasoning of why they thought it was related.
Could Evan Ebel have killed another public servant in Texas 7 weeks earlier?
They want to see if Ebel is connected to Mark Hassey's murder.
And then also, this is what I don't get. The bullets matched, but the gun didn't. So you can match bullets to bullets.
They were saying that it was the same size caliber bullet, but when the bullet is shot through the gun, it leaves striations that are very specific to that gun. And these bullets did not have that. That dash cam footage of Evan Ebel shooting that deputy, pop, 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 and he hits him, and he goes down, and he lives after getting shot in the face.
In the face. And he goes down in such a way, like ragdoll style, where I was like, well, that guy's dead, right? Like, he went down, and the guy in the car started shooting before, like, he must have shot him back through the...
Before he even got there.
Yeah! And, like, the cop walked up
crazy.
Like a goober, like, tapping on the car, like, looking in there, and then this guy just goes off on him, and he...
Well, the deputy did the classic thing where he put his fingerprint on the taillight. Love that move.
Wait, what's that?
Cops, when they pull a car over, they always put their fingerprint on the back right taillight.
Why?
Just so there's evidence that they were there.
Nuh-uh. Is that a real thing?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting.
So I loved seeing that.
Well, that's a good fact. I don't know why that hasn't popped up in like a Columbo or another crime show. That's good stuff.
It might be a Dateline exclusive.
Well, there we go.
Oh, listen, just one more thing.
The other day I fell asleep while I was watching one, and because I was asleep, Peacock, what did they do but took that chance to stream Dateline the last day. So now Peacock thinks I watched multiple episodes of that shit. Ah!
I watched all of those.
Did you really? I stopped. I couldn't do it.
They're no different from any other Dateline.
Yeah, I guess I'm irritated by how much they really drive home the day thing. Because it's like the only hook that makes it not a Dateline is that they go, and it just comes down to one day.
Sometimes the first clue can be found in the last day.
But then the last half of the show is them solving it in the many days and weeks and months after.
Yeah, I feel like all of those episodes will be repackaged as a Dateline episode for rerun purposes. Like, I feel like they could be Dateline episodes tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Christina and that officer from Dallas, C.J. Tomlinson, fell in love.
Kind of wild she married the cop that discovered her dead dad's body, right? That's kind of fun.
But they were family friends.
They were family friends.
So later on in the episode, one of the prosecutors said that McClellan knew after the first victim, Mark, was murdered, that the killer was most likely Eric.
He made no secret what his opinion was. And I had numerous conversations where he said, Bill, it's Eric Williams.
So something must have gone down between them for him to think that. Maybe he knew they had over-prosecuted him, or like maybe they had words at some point and he just had this feeling like, I don't know, that guy's mad.
If I am shot at work, I really hope that the only takeaway people have from me is not that I like sweets. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. The problem is, Kurt, that might be what gets brought up at your funeral.
Oh, because of Starburst?
Because of Starburst.
Yeah, you're right.
When I describe you,
yes,
I definitely mention it, but I don't mention it up top like they were doing with this Mark guy. Right out the gate, first 3 minutes of the show, Mark had a sweet tooth. What?
His colleagues admired his strength to fight through adversity, but they also got a kick out of his weakness, his love for sugary snacks.
But there was something about this where it felt real sad. It's like AC needed a hook
to humanize him, which is crazy because he was murdered. We're already on his side.
Yeah, until they showed that turtleneck photo.
I don't want to speak disparagingly about victims.
I'm speaking disparagingly about the production team for picking that photo. Because he looked like a normal person in every other photo. It was that turtleneck one where I was like,
This is wrong.
So the murder checklist. Is it a small town? In this case, not really. Did the murderer serve in the military? Yes.
Yes.
He did have a military background.
Sure did.
And number 3, is there a Florida connection? In this case, no mention of Florida anywhere in the entire episode. That is unusual.
0 Florida.
Typically, a murderer will either be from there, spend time there, flee to Florida. It always comes in somewhere, but not this time.
Oh! I can't believe we didn't mention the frozen arm.
His excuse was he had frozen shoulder and wasn't able to use his right arm.
Please tell me, Kate, is frozen arm a real medical issue?
Is it different from tennis elbow?
I've cooperated with law enforcement. I certainly wish them the best.
You can just tell that the cops are like rolling their eyes hardcore.
Yeah, it's more obvious to have an injury that either points a finger at the fact that you could have hurt yourself during a struggle, or you were too incapacitated to actually commit the murder. You just gotta go with, you're totally fine.
Yeah. Hey, for that murder checklist, it happens a lot more than you think that someone says signs of a struggle, which is a quote from the Burbs. Signs of a struggle.
Signs of a struggle.
Signs of a struggle are always cuts on the hands.
Big time.
But then every time I get a cut on my hand, I panic. Because I'm like, man, I'm placed at the wrong time and someone had to photograph these hands.
You'd be in trouble. I think about that a lot too, because sometimes when they say it looks like they were fighting, they'll show the cuts and they'll be very minor cuts. What do you think?
Yeah. They'll be like cat scratches.
Yes, I got to give them credit. One nice little piece of cop business they did was they got one of the Texas Rangers to be the cop that goes over to talk to Eric Williams.
So FBI profilers came up with a strategy. Send over a top-level Texas Ranger so Williams would be more likely to let him in.
Was the idea that that would fit with his ego?
Because it was somebody big time enough, he'd invite him inside his house, which he did. That's some good thinking, right?
Yeah, they played right into his ego.
Yeah, and it worked.
Did it work?
It worked great.
But everything else, one of the guys goes, you know, we're trained to accumulate any views that may have been around the crime. That meant that in training, they say, hey, go look at all the security cams in the area. That's what that means.
Right.
But he said, you know, we're trained to look for different angles of the crime. Okay, dude.
Did they have any security camera? They did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was across the street from the storage unit. So they have a white car leaving, white car coming back, and then his car leaving.
Right.
And that motherfucker's trying to blame it on his ex-wife.
I never had one.
And what did she say about her kick-ass list? It wasn't a hit list. It was just her kick-ass list.
Kim acknowledges that she had what she called Kim's kick-ass list. She says it was a list of names from an online Facebook game.
I'm not a shooter. I'm not even a good shot.
So what does that mean? Is she playing like Farmville and she's like listing characters?
She's absolutely playing Farmville. And they tried to make it seem like that was her murder hit list.
Well, she did call it Kim's kick-ass list.
We've all made a kick-ass list.
I just love hearing about it in the context of a murder trial. That she had to be like, no, those were just my friends that I made on Facebook. And I was just writing down cool people I know. Okay, well, we don't know how we're going to end it, but we know that somebody's going to say, I'm Lester Holt.
And this is...
Yeah, there you go.
Theoretically, the jingle would come up now and like...
I'm Lester Holt.
While we're saying the sign-off and...
Yeah, all that good stuff happens. And then we say, see you next week. Hey, don't forget to smash that like button, peeps.